post the guest book at in the chat box, and I encourage all our guests to add their contacts and to give us their feedback, because we treasure and we value these feedbacks from every guest we have at every meeting. We also would like to contact you in wherever you are. Our theme for today is servant leadership. Robert Greenleaf, a leadership consulting and author, wrote, "Good leaders must become good servants first. Good leaders must first become good servants." He is the person who initiated the movement of servant leadership. He said, servant leaders embody leadership characteristics, capacities, and attitudes, values such as trust, deep listening, foresight, accountability, stewardship, and balance. By leading this way, a leader is not only fostering positive environment for his team, for his coworkers in any organization, but by leadership in this way, putting people, serving people, is truly development of human possibilities in themselves as leaders and in their teams. He described it as all these qualities in serving other people as a servant leader. He explained it or described it as streams feeding into a moving river. And the source of this development starts within one's identity and spirits. Leaders and guests, servant leadership is an ethical perspective on leadership that identifies key moral behaviors that leaders must continuously demonstrate in order to make progress. In today's world, we all can tell or see no business or organization achieve excellence or success unless they put servicing their employees, the public, as the first item in their policies or agenda. I could give you a prime example on how successful as a leader
Madam Toastmaster, you're muted.
Was I muted the whole time or just happened now? Hello?
Just
Can
the last 10 seconds. That's all.
Oh, thank you. I'm going to repeat what I said in my last sentence. Today, we can all witness that successful businesses, organizations can only achieve their goals in being servicing as service leaders, servicing their employees and servicing the public. I have a prime example for everyone. Here at Leadership Speak, the premium club, 1 out of 5 best club in the globe. We don't, service is not an add-on item. It's the engine that drives us. We lead by elevating others, each other's, building capabilities before claiming credit. We share victories and celebrate growth as one team. Here at Leadership, when we begin our journey as self-directed leader, as servant leader, we put our ego on the side and we say goodbye to it. We lead with influence and not authority. We stay grounded in service, even under pressure. Build trust, momentum, and lasting impact. Today's meeting, we have 18 members participating in this meeting. These members were not assigned their roles a week before. These members were assigned to their roles weeks before today's meeting. And behind every member who is conducting any role, we have a group of people who are mentoring, coaching, guiding, and these are the servant leaders that they don't appear on the screen maybe, but they are the true leaders that every organization, especially our club, rely on this. Ladies and gentlemen, we could start our meeting now, but I'd like to welcome our most valuable attendees here, and they are our guests. Our guest. The guest book is in the chat box, and the copy of the agenda is in the chat box as well. You could look at it and see how we progress in the meeting. And in the guest book, we would like you to add your contact so we could contact you. The reason we like to contact you is for us to get your feedback, to get to know you, and to see how we could improve ourselves in conducting our meetings from you. And now I would like to start with the first item in the agenda, and that is the toast. Our toast will be delivered by a self-directed leader all the way from India. Jyoti Thomas will conduct the toast. I would like to call her Evaluator from South Africa, Nikawi Nikosi, to tell us what is Jyoti Thomas Toast as a project is all about. Zoom Master, would you like to spotlight Jyoti and Irene? That's okay. We can start with the toast. Leadership Speak by our none other than Jyoti Thomas. The stage is yours.
Servant leadership. Think for a quick second Think about it. If all designations and titles were erased today, who would we look to as our leader, a leader? And why? What truly defines a leader? Yes, position definitely grants us the power. Position is important. Yet, all of us know it is trust that grants us followers, people we look up to. Simon Sinek once shared a story from the Marine Corps. At mealtimes, the highest ranking officers eat last. The youngest soldiers, the newest recruits, they are served first. No rule book, no command, just culture. Culture of putting others before self. That, Simon says, is leadership. True leadership is not worn on your shoulder. It's carried in the heart. It isn't about power. It's about responsibilities. It is about asking, am I here to be served or am I here to serve? Here at our club, my club, Premier Toastmasters Club, Leadership Speak, that is what we celebrate. Leaders who don't just hold titles, but hold trust. Leaders who guide not only with words, but with actions. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, I speak purely from experience and gratitude to my Toastmasters family, Leadership Speak, where every member has lifted me up. So once again, I ask you, if all titles disappeared, would people still follow you? Would they still see you as the one who walks beside them? Because leadership is not conferred, it is lived. It is lived, yes, we know. Today, we are not here just to raise a toast. We are raising a toast to leaders in action, to self-directed leaders. So very clearly, to servant leaders. And as we do, let's remember, lead by serving, serve by inspiring, inspire by lifting. Ladies and gentlemen, unmute your audio, turn on your videos, raise your glasses. Here's to servant leadership.
Servant leadership.
To servant leadership.
Leadership.
We can say that nice and loud.
Yes.
Thank you.
Servant leadership.
Over to Madam Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you, Jyoti, for your toast. And that is true. Leaders lead with actions and not with titles. In every meeting, we have two pillars, two role players that will help me conduct the meeting on time and smoothly. The first pillar is our timer, all the way from the Philippines. Nellie Jane will be our timer, and everybody can spot her because she's got her hand up. Nellie Jane will tell us what her role as a timer is. The stage is yours, Nellie.
Thank you, Miss Gilda, and good day to you, my fellow Toastmasters, and to our honorable guests. I am Nelly, your timer for today's meeting, and I will time each speaker according to the agenda and signal using virtual background. and that is green, yellow, and red. After each segment, I will post the timing results in the chat. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Back to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Nelly. Our next pillar, role player, all the way from Nigeria. I ran Nandi Akin Bolaje. She is our grammarian. The stage is all yours, Arande, to give us the word of the day and to tell us more about your role.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster of the day. Good afternoon from Abuja, fellow Toastmasters and our guests. My role as the grammarian for today's meeting is to listen carefully to the usage by everyone that speaks during the meeting. I will take notes of interesting words, interesting quotes, great choice of words, and I would also note any incorrect usage of grammar so that I'll give recommendations. My other role is to introduce the word of the day, and to do that, I am going to share my screen. All right, it looks as if I can't share my screen, so let me just recite what I have here. The word of the day for today's
You should be
meeting.
able to.
Okay, let me try again. No, I can't. It says sharing not turned on. I've sent a request, but in the meantime, let me just say the meaning of the word of the day. The word of the day for today's meeting is stewardship. Stewardship. It is a noun, and it means careful and responsible management of something entrusted to one's care, whether that be people, finances, reputation, or shared resources. In the context of servant leadership, it means holding and managing these resources with deep care and accountability, not as an owner, but as a trusted guardian. I'll give you a few sentences that illustrate the use of the word of the day. Has stewardship of the team created a culture of trust and growth? True leadership is rooted in stewardship, serving others, not self-interest. I'll be back during the evaluation portion of the meeting to tell us how we fared. Over to you, the Toastmaster of the day.
Gilda, you're muted. Gilda.
Thank you for the explanation of your role and the word of the day, stewardship, Arande. Before we get to our next session, I would like to invite all our guests to put their contact information in the guest book and give us feedback on what they think of the meeting and any comments. Our next session is the educational speech. Our educational speaker is all the way from South Africa. He's joining us from South Africa. Distinguished Toastmasters with 11 years of experience. He is a supply chain professional who enjoys traveling the world just so he could taste different cuisine of the world. Our speaker is Oltesh Thobias. Oltesh Thobias with the title of Servant Leaders. Servant Leaders, Oltesh Thobian, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much, Madam Toastmaster of the Day. Picture this. Oltesh, if you ever do it again, you're fired. Excuse me, sir. This has never happened. I've been in this organization for 6 years, and this is the first time it's happened. I'm saying you'll be fired. That was a conversation I had with one of my superiors, and I risked losing my job for an unintentional error. Have you ever worked with a manager or a leader who does not tolerate mistakes? I have. And to the extent that for some of them I had to consider quitting. But let's flip the coin. And you have another manager. Hi, Oltesh. How are you today? I'm fine, madam. I really appreciate the work that you've been doing. And I've observed that your work has been really good consistently. But I noted for the last 2 weeks, there have been a few errors that I believe that you could have maybe noted. That is very true. Do you have a problem? Is there something that we can do to assist you? Yes, you should allow me. I'll come and discuss with you. That's fine. I look forward to seeing you. Those were 2 conversations that I had, different seasons, and with these 2 different managers. They all follow the rules. They all follow the policies. But you could obviously see that they had different approaches. The first one was an authoritarian who used power and position to the extent of threatening me. But the second one used influence and persuasion to engage with me, but also to find a way and what exactly was the problem. I want all of us to go back and think of the second manager. Who would like to engage with you at your own level? And as you think of that particular manager or leader or superior, just go a little bit into detail. What did they do? What attributes did they have? What exactly did they do to deserve the influence that they had on you? The second manager is a servant leader who exercises what you're talking about today, servant leadership. And I just want to briefly mention a list of the qualities of leaders who exercise servant leadership. They exercise listening, empathy, healing, awareness, persuasion, conceptualization, foresight, stewardship, and they have an intentional commitment to growth of their people, and they also like to build community. You don't need to worry about remembering any of these because I'm going to unpack. And this is what I'm going to do as we engage in this conversation. I will present 3 scenarios. The first scenario is at a corporate environment where probably most of us spend our time. The second scenario is at a family level or at a personal level where probably we spend our entire lifetime. But the third scenario is at a community, because we all belong to certain communities. But unfortunately, at a community level, there are no defined rules and policies and procedures. Things happen as they happen. Now let's go back to the corporate world. I want to take you back to 2009. Which found me in Tunisia. I joined the African Development Bank, the organization that I work for to this very day. And I met Yvette, my then manager. And after spending a few months, I noticed a few things about Yvette. She was the first to arrive, last to leave the office. She knew the policies inside out. She coached us, she guided us, she was there to support us. She trained us. She knew us, she knew our strengths and our weaknesses. When you go and visit Yvette in her office, she did not only discuss the serious matters about work, she would also offer a brand of coffees that she had. And while working hard, we also enjoyed a cup of coffee. Yvette also would invite us for lunch or dinner, sometimes to her house, not because we could not afford lunch or dinner. It's because she wanted to interact us at a personal level. She knew our best days and the best days of our children. And most times she would show up with a thoughtful present. Yvette was a mother of 3 children at that time, and she always found time to do homework with them. She found time to guide them through their education system. But at the same time, Yvette was also going through a PhD program. She was a mother, she was a wife, but she was also an executive. But there was also something very unique about Yvette. Given her level in the organization, she engaged with executives. She also engaged with us, her team members, her children, and sometimes the children of staff members. And there's something that I noted about Yvette. She connected with everybody at their own level. Now, before this conversation, I did not know that some of the aspects and the practices that I saw in Yvette were actually servant leadership. And I just want to mention a few from what I saw. Yvette was a good listener, an active listener. When you engage with Yvette, she would drop everything and she would give you 100% attention, eye contact, and when you nod, she would also nod. These are qualities of leaders who exercise servant leadership. Yvette also ensures that we are empowered to do the work that we're supposed to do. And the leader who wants to create impact needs to empower those that he leads. But there was also something that was really amazing about the entire period that I worked with Yvette. And this is, she allowed us to grow. By the time I left the department to join another department, probably half of us were promoted to new levels. And where I am today is through the support, the guidance, and the coaching that I got from Yvette. She was indeed a true leader who exercised servant leadership. I also believe that you have your own Yvette in your life. And I just want you to go back and appreciate and think as to how much they contributed in who you are today. When I was preparing this presentation, I spoke to Yvette and I said, I would like you to allow me to share some of these qualities with members of my club. And she said, please go ahead. There's a possibility that Yvette is in this call because the leadership that she impacted on me did not only end there, she influenced me. Now, if we leave the corporate world and we go into a personal world or a family level, I believe that everyone present in this call today is here because someone held your hand. Someone trusted you. Someone ignored your weaknesses. someone looked at the potential that you have and not the mistakes that you committed. And who is this someone? It could be your mother. It could be your father. It could be your guardian. It can also be maybe someone who's just random, but they decided to take it upon them to make sure that they ensure your success. And I just want us to go back and look in the day and consider how much did those that supported you sacrifice for you. They exercised servant leadership. Your parents, probably at some point you did not behave as they expected. They exercised servant leadership. In my family, I was the most difficult child. If there was anything missing in the house, I was one-stop shop. If there was an equipment that was broken in the house, I was the default to go to child. In fact, I remember one day I decided to dismantle the radio, trying to rescue the guy who was in the radio, only to find wires. There was a series of challenges that I experienced as a child, but my parents did not give up on me. And I'm standing here today because of the servant leadership they exercise. I also believe you're here today because of the sacrifice that your parents made. Through sacrificing their time, through being there, through exercising empathy, through ensuring that they listen to you and advise you and ensure that you're taken care of. You're also here today because could be your mother had to leave her employment just to take care of you. That's exactly what my wife did. She left a job that was paying her probably 6 times of my salary, only to take care of our 3 daughters. I'm also reminded of our friend Ray, who lost his wife when the children were at a very tender age. And she had to juggle between parenting, playing the role of mother and father at the same time to bring up his children, who are now grown up, who are now adults. Parents, guardians, mothers, fathers have exercised the highest levels of servant leadership by listening, by trusting us, by ensuring that we grow, by ensuring that they empathize with us, but also inculcate the values that made us who we are today. If you have been a child once, please unmute. Let us just appreciate those that have helped us to be where we are today. Just with one word, in your own language, in your own style. In a count of 3, please unmute and appreciate them. 1, 2, 3.
Merci.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Asante.
I picked a few languages. Thank you so much for acknowledging that. I remember when I made a decision that I want to start building communication skills. I decided to take a public speaking course. And I traveled the world. I went to the UK, US, I was in Kenya, and a few other countries. And after training for 1 year, after paying $20,000, money that I did not have, but money that I borrowed from the bank, I realized that my speaking skills were nowhere near an effective public speaker. And I spoke to one of my mentors at that time, Bratschitsch, and said, Brian, what do I need to do? And Brian said, Oltesh, if you want to become an effective speaker and a leader, you need to do one thing. You need to deliver at least 300 speeches. And I said, Brian, 300? And he said, yes. But Brian, I cannot even engage the audience. Where do I even find the audience? And he said, go to Toastmasters. And that's how I found myself in Toastmasters in 2014. And I've been in Toastmasters to this very day. But there was something very interesting that happened when I joined Toastmasters. After about 3 years in Toastmasters, I just reflected and looked at the numbers. $20,000 and the value that I got, the amount of money that I paid and the value that I got. And when I compared the amount of money that I paid and the value that I gained, I realized that the amount of money was here, and the value that I gained through this training that I did for over a year was here. But guess what? When I looked at Toastmasters, the $45 that I paid, how about the value? I realized that the value was somewhere here. It turned out that Toastmasters was exercising servant leadership. We got coaching, we got training, we got feedback. And the entire benefit of Toastmasters is to build us as leaders. But the most interesting part is this. Last year, I had a conversation with Bram. And I came to know about Leadership Speak after speaking to a friend, and he said, come to Leadership Speak, and say, but what is there in Leadership Speak? I say, it's the premier club in the world. So I visited Leadership Speak probably 2 or 3 sessions. And, it was a tool, and he advised me that, why don't you speak to Bram and see maybe if you can find your way to Leadership Speak. And then I contacted Bram, and Bram said, okay, we will set an appointment. And I had a conversation, and I remember the question that Bram asked is, he did not ask me what you do, or are you a member of Toastmasters or not. He just asked me, what do you want to gain from Toastmasters? So he wanted to know exactly what is it that I need, and specifically what is it that Leadership Speak has to do for me. And I told him. And then when I now decided that I will join, he did not end there. He also sent me an assessment form. And his aim was to find out if I'm a good fit for Leadership Speak, but also most importantly, for me to find out if I'm going to get the benefits that I was looking for. And I can say this is the second best decision I've ever made after the decision of joining Toastmasters. Because at Leadership Speak, I just noted that people were so interested in your success. They're so passionate about your success more than your own passion in your own success. Can you imagine that? Where do you find it? And I asked myself, but how is this possible? How can someone want something for me more than I wanted myself? And it turns out that those are the values of servant leadership, where Serving others is like your oxygen. The impact you create is like food for you, and the influence around you is like your shelter. I have looked and I've noted that leadership speak. Members spend a lot of time to coach others. As I was preparing this speech, I had like bilateral discussion with Gilda, with Sandra, with Hannah, with Bram, and there was a round robin that was done by 7, 8 members. That is 7 leadership. I just feel that everyone in this club wants everyone to grow and to succeed and to win. So what does that mean for me? It means empathy, because leadership speaks, identifies with our needs. It means persuasion, because the values that we're getting here persuade us that we also need to become leaders. And I did one test that Robert Greenfield indicated in his study, that for you to test a servant leader, you actually need to look at the impact they are creating and the success they are creating. And there was something very interesting. I saw a post from Buhari yesterday when he was celebrating his achievement as a distinguished Toastmaster, which is one of the highest qualifications in Toastmasters. And to prove that leadership speak does the job, he said something very interesting. He said, leadership speak has been more than an advanced club to me. It has been a nurturing ground where I sharpen my skills, draw strength, and your feedback, and learn true meaning of leadership and service. That is exactly what you're talking about. Servant leadership. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster of the Day.
Thank you, Toastmaster Oltesh, for this engaging educational speech. And you nailed it. A servant leader is the leader who could connect with people at all levels. A leader who could build trust between him and his team in any organization and business. And you gave a prime example on how we do it in leadership speak. Thank you. Before I start with the second segment, which is the prepared speeches, I would like to remind our guests or encourage the new guests who just joined our meeting that we do have a guest book will be posted again by our Zoom master or the PR master. And for you guests to put your information and to give us your feedback, and we'd love to contact you. Our next segment is the prepared speeches. Today we have 5 powerful speeches that will get 5 powerful evaluations. We start with our first speaker. Our first speaker is joining us all the way from Senegal, Arouna. So I would like to have him spotlighted and would like the Zoom master to spotlight his evaluator, Toastmaster Robin Stone, all the way from South Africa, to give us the purpose of Arouna's speech. Go ahead, Toastmaster
Thank
Robin.
you. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster of the Day, and to you, Torino, as well. I look forward to evaluating you today. Arouna will be speaking from the dynamic leadership path with a level 3, and this is the first project, and it is to negotiate the best outcome. The purpose of this project is for the member to learn about the different types of negotiation and the strategies that can be used when negotiating. The purpose of the speech is for the member to share some aspect of a past or future negotiation in actual life. Arouna has also asked me to focus on the structure of her speech and also the use of vocal variety. So, good luck, Arouna, and back to you, Madam Toastmaster of the Day.
Thank you, Robin. And now our first speaker, Arouna So, the second best scenario. The second best scenario, Arouna So. The stage is yours.
How do you consider negotiation? Do you consider negotiation as a competition where the best outcome is always a win? Or do you consider negotiation as a starting point of a new collaboration? Collaboration where the long-term benefit is the focus, instead the immediate one. How you see negotiation drive the way you conduct them. And when things go wrong, and when what you expected before the negotiation is not what you have as a outcome, is it still possible to reach an agreement? In 2009, in my previous position at the National Statistical Institute of Burkina Faso, we were contacted by an international organization to conduct a baseline survey in the field of education. The objective was to assess the impact of the implementation of the project on the field of education on the rural part of the country. We were so surprised because our department was working on economic statistics, even though they had expertise in the field of statistics, and we can conduct any kind of studies on statistics. And we also had experience of conducting survey. When we met the representative of this organization, it told us they are looking for an official organization with expertise on survey methodologies to help them access the implementation of the project implemented by its organization on school attendance on rural area of Burkina Faso. At the beginning, the tone was set and the objective was clear because this organization was looking for a partners for a long-term collaboration to conduct a series of surveys starting with a baseline survey. And we agree on all the aspects except budgeting. But we decided to collaborate because the representative told us we had time constraints and the project had already started. And we were supposed to complete the baseline survey before the launch of the project or during the very beginning phase of its implementation. And they were available to cover some expenses to make things easy. However, the data collection was very complicated. And our team in charge of data collection worked late in some villages to cover our target. Apart from that, the process was successful. And do you know what? During the next step, during the meeting, the kickoff meeting for the next survey, our partner decided to increase the budget of the survey. And we we have been working together to find solution to have good budget and also to have good result in order to achieve our objective. And they loved the way we have been working since the beginning and our commitment to achieve the objective despite financial constraints during the baseline survey. And at the end, this collaboration led to a win-win outcome. Dear guests, fellow Toastmasters, most of the time in negotiation, what you expect is not what you have. But you need to be clear about your expectation when you are looking for partnership. When your objective is to build a strong relationship, you can accept the first proposal. And after that, we can try to work with your partners for solutions that meet everyone's needs. And it's what we did in 2009. First, we adopted a compromised negotiation style by making concessions to meet everyone's minimum requirements. And thanks to the collaboration we put together, we have been working to find solutions that meet everyone's needs. Applying a collaborative style of negotiation doesn't come overnight. It takes time, but it's worth it, and it leads at a win-win outcome. In economics, we have a theory called the second best one. That explains in the market, the price we have is not always the best, but consumers accept it as the second best price. And it's the duty of the body regulatory of the market, the manager, the leaders, to deal with distortion and to make things easy. As the information is available, consumer can have a better price compared to previous one. And at the end of the day, they can have the best price. The same goes with negotiation. At the beginning, it's not possible to have a win-win outcome. But if we are willing to make concession, we can improve this outcome, and also we can have at the end the best outcome for every part of the engagement of the negotiation. However, negotiation with a win-loss outcome never lasts, because it could lead to the end of a relationship. As someone said, you must never try to make all the money that is in a deal. Let other fellow make some money. Because if you have a reputation for always making all the money, we won't have many deals. Back to you, dear Madam Toastmaster Bede.
Thank you, Arouna, for your speech, and I like your question. How do we consider negotiation? That's something for me to think about. Thank you. Our next speaker is all the way joining us all the way from Kenya, Lydiah Wanjiku. Her evaluator also joining from Kenya, Joyce Kipe. Joyce Kipe will tell us the purpose of the project that Lydiah is delivering. The stage is yours, Toastmaster Joyce.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, and good evening, guests and fellow Toastmasters. This evening, I'm elated to evaluate Lydiah Wanjiku. Lydiah is undertaking her third pathway, Engaging in Humor, and her speech title is more than tea. She is doing an icebreaker, which should take 4 to 6 minutes. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster of the Day.
Thank you. Thank you, Joyce. And now, our second speaker, Lydiah Wanjiku. Tea to more. Tea to more, Lydiah Wanjiku. The stage is yours.
Let us all try to imagine you are surrounded with endless green plantations. Smell the air fresh. No pollution. Just visualize you being in a place looking like this. It's a beautiful place. This is the place I grew up in. Fellow Toastmasters and guests. Why am I talking about tea? It's because when I reflect back, my memories, there is so much that tea has done to me and the entire family. I'm sure our DTM is able to relate with Ketepa tea. When you Google further, you will see Kenya being number 3 globally exporter of tea, and China being the first one. Kenya produces 523 million kilograms of tea, while China, which is the highest, produces 2.4 million tons of tea. So, when I reflect back, I see where I grew up, surrounded with all these tea plantations. When I was going to school as a little girl, there's so much I learned. I could see women plucking tea, and they were very happy. They were chatting. They were sharing stories. And at the end of it, they were filling their basket and they are going to weigh their baskets. And that is how they were making their livings. As I grew up, I could hear some of the stories. They were just revolving around marriage issues. And that is what was when we came to learn gender. It's called problems without a name. And I'm sure if we sit women here and talk, we'll all find we have some problems, but they have no names. But when we share our stories, we laugh and we realize it is never that serious. So for me, I developed that passion that when I grow up, I want to have a network of ladies. I share with them stories, just like these ladies who are plucking the tea. My sister who follows me observed there was an accountant who was the one who was taking the data of how many kilos these women have come and weighed and plucked the entire day. My sister whispered, when I grow up, I want to be an accountant. In the evening when you're coming from school, there was that manager, the manager who came to oversee the work that was being done. And that manager drove a big car. My brother said, I want to be that manager when I grow up. And guess what? He became the manager of one of the tea companies. A true reflection and the dream that he had. Back to myself, I joined East African Women League, where we have women and giving back to the community. And my profession, being a HR specialist, combined with gender, I am passionate about the work that I do. So from my T to more, the more was we developed our careers from what we were observing. Then a passion to become a good communication speaker. I joined Toastmasters. Then Toastmasters to more. And my more was Leadership Speak. When I joined Leadership Speak, I completed the form that has already been posted on the chat, and I became a member. And I've never regretted. There's so much that I've learned. 1, to be a self-directed leader. 2, to be a critical thinker. 3, to be coached by many experienced Toastmasters and getting feedback from the experienced Toastmasters. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, what is that one thing that you will get more from it? As you are thinking, let Leadership Speak be your that thing, and then you will learn more as you go along. Back to you, TMOD.
Thank you so much for your speech, Lydia, and thank you for introducing yourself to us. I'm sure this is not your first icebreaker, but what a way to introduce yourself through the tea plantation, and then you took us who you are and what you do and your goals. Thank you. The third speaker, the third prepared speech by a speaker from Pakistan, Muhammad Azimuddin. Muhammad Azimuddin will be evaluated by Renan Ursula all the way from the Philippines. And Renan will tell us or will share with us the project that Muhammad is doing, purpose, and the stage is all yours, Renan.
The speaker will deliver a speech by demonstrating her ability to listen to what others say. She will serve or conduct a table topic session at a club meeting, then comment on each speaker's table topic speech to demonstrate her active listening skills in 5 to 7 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Renan. And now, Muhammad Azimuddin, Group Admin. Group Admin, Muhammad Azimuddin. The stage is yours.
Thank you. Recently, I came across a shocking news. A group member killed his group admin. When I shared this story with my friends, they reacted, these are all rumors. And I felt relaxed. But by that time, the impact of the story already had lingered in my mind. And I started thinking seriously around this story. Ladies and gentlemen, fellow Toastmasters and guests, welcome you all in this story. I started thinking, if it were true, what could have happened? What has forced the group member to that extreme end to commit this act of crime? And I started creating an imaginary social media group where Dan was a vocal and a straightforward member of the group. He was always criticizing his group admin, not because to create any chaos or disturbance in the group, but to lead him to the right direction. On the other hand, Mark was the group admin, and he always dreamt of authority and power in the group. He thought that this group is his kingdom, and he is the king. He's the commander, and he can do whatever he wants. Every voice bent to his will, and he was making all the decisions alone on the behalf of his group. One day, Mark decided to use the group funds in order to fulfill his own personal agenda and show his own personal projection in the community. Dan resisted. There was an argument. Dan said, Mark, you are actually choking the true objectives of the group. And then it happened. Mark removed Dan from the group. And Dan felt insulted, humiliated. And one day, when Mark was running alongside the river, Dan was there. Consumed by his anger and vengeance, Dan took out his gun and then ditcher. Next day, police investigated the crime and apprehended Dan. And there was a police report. It was a one-page report, 4 paragraphs. The first paragraphs detailed the crime. And the second paragraph supposed to be the root cause analysis of the killing. And when I started reading it, I found some surprising facts in it. I quickly grabbed my pen and started underlining the facts. And it said, Mark did not actively listen to Dan during the conversation. And then I correlated this report with my own leadership learning, the active listening. When you exercise active listening, you actually give an opportunity to your members, to others, to feel that they are heard, they are respected, they are valued, and their contribution to the group are respected. And this actually gives an opportunity to build a relationship of trust and friendship. Once you develop a relationship of trust, then nobody tries to harm each other. So I started thinking, is this the root cause of the killing? Maybe. And then I moved to the third paragraph. There was another shocking finding. Mark lacked in conflict resolution skills, and he has not shown empathy to Dan. I found that group admin is actually a servant leader, and he must need to have these skills: active listening, conflict resolution, and empathy. Mark lagged in all. And so ultimately, the crime happened. The police report actually gave me the message. Every group member Every group admin is a servant leader, and he or she must need to learn active listening skills, conflict resolution skills, and empathy. And not only learn, show in the group in order to develop and foster harmony among the members and remain alive. Every group leader exercise his servant leadership to prevent another jar. This time, this is a false story. But next time, servant leaders, who knows? Over to you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Muhammad Azimuddin, for your speech. And I really like what you said regarding listening and empathy, active listening, which you explained it to us as understanding other people's point of view, not just hearing them, but understand where they come, sympathize with their perspective as well. Thank you. Our third speaker is all the way from the USA, Tony Bratschitsch. His evaluator lives very far away from him as well in the USA, Sandra Valks. Sandra Valks will, if she is spotlighted, and she is, love your pink hair always, Sandra. Sandra will give us the purpose of Tony's projects, and the stage is all hers.
Thank you. Thank you, Gilda. Just to hang on to our stewardship, Tony and I are both from Canada and not too far apart. But anyhow, Tony is, and now, you know, I like to do what you did, get the full name out too, Tony Bratschitsch, because he shudders when somebody knows how to say his name. He gets good. Anyhow, he's in Persuasive Influence, Level 1, Project 3, 5 to 7 minutes, practicing using vocal variety and body language to enhance the speech. And I'm to watch for his pacing and pauses. He's going to present a well-organized speech, and I'm going to be watching also because he's traveling. So I don't know where he found to get over into Zoom, but he will not be standing today because he's on the road somewhere. Tony, or back over to you, Gilda, sorry.
Thank you, fellow Canadian, Sandra. I should have known you are from Canada because the other day you wrote A, and I said, why is she writing A? Anyway, our speaker, Tony, is delivering a speech by title Just a Scratch. Just a Scratch by Tony Bratschitsch. The stage is all yours.
My daughter, Ashley, called me one Saturday morning. Hi, Dad. I just wanted to let you know I'm okay. The airbag worked. Whoa, what happened? I asked. I was driving with my friend Sally last night. It was dark and rainy, and I didn't see how the road curved ahead of me. And I drove into a ditch. But Sally's okay. Her airbag worked too. This story took place over 20 years ago. I was 800 miles away with the rest of my family on a vacation. Now, Ashley did not want to come with us because she just returned from an overseas trip where she spent 6 weeks as a volunteer worker in a community program. And Ashley wanted to stay home to work to earn money for her university. No problem. So that's a good attitude. So I let her have the keys to my car because I rented a van for the rest of the family for this vacation. And it was a nice car. Completely paid for. Low mileage. Brand new expensive tires. And I still had 3 years of complete bumper to bumper warranty on it. It was big, it was beautiful, it was red, and it was mine. I loved that car. But of course, I loved Ashley more. Back to the phone call. It felt like a good news, bad news type of phone call. And the good news, of course, was Ashley and her friend were okay. So that's the good news. But now on to the bad news. Ashley, how's the car? Just a scratch. Oh, just a scratch? Yeah, just a scratch. Now, of course, you can imagine, Ashley was pretty distraught, having the accident, then having to call me with, the news. So I let it go. I'll worry about it when I get home. And after all, I've had my share of accidents. As a matter of fact, I've had more than my share of accidents. And I've always been able to get whatever damage repaired. And the good news was Ashley was all right. Well, when I got home, I called the towing company so I could get my car. Sure, the guy said. What for? God. I took a friend named Jim with me. When we got there, we saw my beautiful red car. Wow, Jim said. That's one heck of a scratch. And at that moment, I had a vision in my mind, of what must have happened that night when Ashley, drove off the road. And in that vision in my mind, was that scene in the first Jurassic Park movie. If you've seen that movie, that's where the T-Rex dinosaur is stomping on that Ford Explorer tour car, boom, boom, smash, and the people are screaming. That was the vision in my mind that Ashley went through and what happened to my car. I asked the towing company guy, do you know what happened? Yeah, he said, the police told us. Your daughter flew off the road like a rocket into the ditch. But the fence grabbed the car and saved her from going onto the highway, onto the oncoming traffic. Then I got really scared. Oh my goodness, oh my God. Then I realized how lucky we were. It could have been much, much worse. Hey, you know what? Cars come and go. I mean, after all, they're just hunks of metal, glass, and rubber. You can see for yourself. I mean, we've all seen it. So, hey, can't cry over spilled milk. I'm counting my blessings. So I went out and I got a brand new minivan. It was big, it was beautiful, and it was red. It was nice and high and could easily fit a lot of people, including my entire family, into that minivan. I loved that minivan, so I bought it. Well, 3 days after I got the minivan, I was mowing the grass in my backyard. It was a beautiful day, and I saw Ashley driving my brand new shiny red minivan into the driveway. She got out and she walked into the house. I'm pushing the lawnmower, and I look at the minivan, and I noticed something a bit different about the front bumper. But maybe it was just an overhead tree casting a shadow on that front bumper. So I walked towards the minivan. As I got closer and closer, I noticed that the front bumper was caved in. And then I touched it, and there was stone dust on the dent. Well, at least it wasn't blood. So she hit something, and at least it wasn't a living creature. But we only had it for 3 days. 1, 2, 3, 3 days. Yeah, not weeks, not months, 3 days. Well, at that moment, I did something that I'm still very proud of to this day. I turned around and I walked towards my lawnmower, and I said to myself, it's just a scratch. Back to you, Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you. Thank you, Toastmaster Bratschitsch, for this speech. And you are right. It's only a scratch. Our fifth and last but not least speaker is none other than our president, Holmes Teng, all the way from Singapore. He will be evaluated by Ucili Joseph from Canada. Ucili will tell us the purpose of Holmes' speech and the objective of his speech. The stage is all yours, Ucili.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster of the day. Toastmaster Teng is working on the path presentation mastery, and today he will present a speech on the project Introduction to Vocal Variety and Body Language. The purpose of this project is for him to practice using vocal variety or body language to enhance a speech. And as he asked me to, today I will look on how he used humor to convey his message. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you, Ucili, and I could see our speaker is already smiling, memorizing his speech. Yeah, Holmes Teng with a speech title, The Life of Merit. The Life of Merit. Holmes Teng, the stage is yours.
Merit life sometimes. It's like struggling with the language that you just can't quite master. When I was in school, my teacher once looked at my exam paper. She sighed and said, Holmes, your Chinese assignment is written in English, sprinkled with some Chinese-looking characters. And she was right. My Chinese then was that bad. In an oral exam, I was sitting nervously in front of my examiner. The passage initially looked innocent until there were words that I do not recognize. My palms became sweaty, and I wondered what to do. Is this the end of this exam? Am I gonna flunk it again? I thought of a good strategy. Anytime I don't recognize something, at least my vocal tonality would flow. I would say something, something when I don't recognize the character. It was a word there. I recognize the word there, it's just that I don't know what it is. And literally, a sentence such as, he suddenly fell to the ground, would become, he suddenly something, something the ground. In a sense, it flowed nice. But the examiner merely gave me a smirk, closed the book, and later ended the exam. At home, my family tried to help me. They would point out certain words. Do you know this character? I beamed proudly. Of course, it's something, something. After a while, my parents sighed. This boy may never pass Chinese. Let's just hope his English is good enough to survive. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the moment my family gave up. But life has an interesting turn. Years later, I was dating a lady from China. Perfect, I thought. Free daily Chinese lessons. Wrong. Very wrong. Every time I spoke to her in Mandarin, I may say, 你好吗? Which is how are you in English? She will reply in English, I'm fine, thank you. I may request in Chinese, 我们说中文吧, let's speak Chinese. She ignored me and continued whatever conversations we're having in English. It was later on I realized she simply thought my grammar was so strange, my vocabulary was so painful, that if she encouraged me to speak in Chinese, the Chinese language itself might just collapse. Basically, I married a reverse Duolingo app. No streaks, no Mandarin, just English. Because marriage has different sides to it. There was a period of time I was in her hometown. That was in China, Harbin. Before we left to the hometown, she declared with great confidence, I know this city like the back of my hand. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, do you know what this means? This means I, as the husband, must test her. So in the city, I insisted, let's explore new places. Look at that bridge. It looks exotic. We're gonna walk over it, man. 2 hours later, we're standing under the bridge. No signs, no people. No clue where we were. Her silence grew heavier by the minute. I felt maybe I screw up. Did I just ruin the newly started marriage, which was supposed to be a honeymoon period? And then she reached to her bag, took out her phone, switched on the GPS. That's when I know she had a new realization to her husband. Sometimes ignoring the husband is not enough. You still need a multiple set of tools to ensure that you know your way back home. In Singapore, in contrast, I'm the one who gets lost. You may have heard of tourist attractions, Marina Bay Sands, Lau Pa Sat, Singapore Expo, Raffles Place. Each of them are actually about 10 minutes walk away. But I have no idea where they are if I'm at one location versus the other. We are in a strange context whereby we may get lost in our home ground. But as I go through marriage, I realized marriage is not just about wife language or husband language. It's about the interchange of languages and how we can better appreciate each other's stance and in the moment also better know our strengths and weaknesses. After all these years, my Chinese is still terrible. My wife's English is still perfect. But as we learn to laugh about each other, even when we don't understand, we move on. Well, if you don't believe me, just ask my wife. She's in the call, by the way. She'll reply you in English. Thank you so much. Back to Toastmasters of the Day, Gilda.
Thank you, Holmes. And I could tell you and your wife are still in the honeymoon stage. And don't say anything else because of the genuine smile you always have on your face. Thank you for such a humorous speech. And this brings us to the end of prepared speeches. I hope our self-directed leaders and our guests have plenty of takeaways. And speaking of our guests, please give us your feedback. The speakers would love to hear or to see a comment from you. And if you just join, our PR master will put the guest book in the chat box for you to give us your contact information. We'd love to contact you. Thank you. And now I would like to ask the timer to post the time of all the speakers in the chat box. And while she is doing that, I'd like to ask the Zoom master to share with us the poll for the best effort speaker. And guests are encouraged to vote as well. Thank you, and I hope everyone has voted. Our next segment is the feedback. It's an important segment in our meetings. Evaluation, and the general evaluator is none other than Nicole Miller Douglas. She is joining us from Jamaica. Can we spotlight Nicole Miller Douglas? Thank you. The stage is all yours, Nicole. Take it from here.
Good morning from Jamaica, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Our speech evaluators are stewards of this meeting, serving our speakers to help them become more effective leaders and communicators. As per the agenda, we will have our first evaluator evaluating the toast of the meeting. We will invite at this time Toastmaster Nakawe to evaluate the toast. That was done by Toastmaster Jyoti. Nakawe, please join me.
Hi, Madam General Evaluator. Greetings, fellow Toastmasters and our guest. To your team, your takeaway message was very clear for me as your evaluator. What you shared just hit home, that leaders lead with actions and not just titles. As you were delivering your speech, you delivered it with clarity and confidence. And of course, you looked stunning, which means you were prepared for your role. Your speech was a stewardship to the theme of today's meeting. Your opening was engaging. You asked a question to the members in the virtual room. I just want to challenge you there. It was a great opening, but you didn't pause enough to give us time to give a thought to your question. Should you have done that, it could have been more engaging. And your body was in line with the theme perfectly. You used two stories. One, it was the Marine Corps. And secondly, you used your personal story. And we are all here under the umbrella of Leadership Speak. So what you shared with us, it just hit home because it was something that we are all aware of as members. And it was good for the guests to learn as to what is happening in Leadership Speak, that we grow because of servant leadership that is always practiced in our club. In your closing, you closed very well. But you challenged me because when I was still wanting to hear more, you just cut. So in summary, your speech was delivered with clarity and confidence. Your take-home message was clear. Your message was clear and relevant. I just want to challenge you just to apply your pauses, especially when you engage with your audience, for us to engage well with you. You met the objectives of your speech as you were delivering your toast in the pathway Persuasive Influence level 3, where you were supposed to deliver a social speech. Well done. Back to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you, Toastmaster Nakawe, for such insightful feedback. You used the sandwich technique. You commented on the content and the delivery of Toastmaster Jyoti's toast, as well as you made a recommendation just to pause a bit so we could think about what she said and to digest it. And then you made your commendations at the end once again and summarized really nicely. That was a good example of the sandwich technique in action. And there we have it, our first steward showing action to serve. And we move on swiftly to our Toastmaster of the Day evaluator, Toastmaster Paramjeet. Look out for this one. He has a lot of humor. Tighten your seatbelt as we hear from Toastmaster Paramjeet as he gives feedback on the Toastmaster of the Day.
Good evening, everyone. First of all, Toastmaster Gilda. Firstly, I would like to congratulate you for being a Toastmaster for the day for the first time in leadership meeting and perform the same with excellence. An excellent job done with confidence, connection, and conviction, and living the role a servant leader, as a servant leader, serving the members and guests with the best possible experience. As a servant self-directed leader, you joined the meeting around like 5 minutes earlier to check and overcome any challenge. And when SA was not available, you managed the speaker very quickly and effectively. Kudos to you and your quick action. The theme servant leadership was very clear. You set the tone with sharing your thoughts on servant leadership and engage the audience from the start with the very relevant topic and need of the hour for servant leadership in the present world situation. You created the smooth transition between the segments and between introducing different speakers. Your introduction of role players, speakers, and evaluators were warm and confident. Your crisp and short remarks after every speaker's speech and respectful applause are appreciated. Your smooth transition through, of course, one introduction was a bit mixed up, US and Canada. Of course, they are neighbors. The smooth meeting under your stewardship is the result of the preparations, hard work, and effort you have made in the last 10 to 15 days. Creating a WhatsApp group for all role players and sharing the theme, write-up also for the first time is so that every role player, particularly thought of the day, word of the day, and toast aligned with the theme. Another highlight was a meeting with the addition to our Thursday meeting, practice meeting, so that everybody is on same pitch. You are watching over all the chat, encouraging everyone and replying to everyone. This all under your watchful eyes and support of your team is translated into a successful meeting. Now, only 2 points for improvement. Of course, the first, when you're talking about servant leadership, a personal story added will have more engagement with the audience. And the second thing I like to highlight is that you, as a Toastmaster of the day, be present on the stage. Like your video was not available for some time, particularly even when you were speaking and starting introducing the next person, it was not, your video was not available. Overall, it was energetic, warm stage, warm presence, strong theme connection, and great audience support. Of course, with other personal story and being on the stage, on the screen for the whole time will add to your more success. Over to you, G. Toastmaster Douglas.
Thank you, Toastmaster Paramjeet, for giving feedback to our Toastmaster of the day. I like the fact that you congratulated her on her first try. This is her first time. If you didn't say it, I wouldn't recognize it, that it was the Toastmaster's first time serving in that role. She did so well, and you commended her on that. And that was very important to encouraging her to try the role again in the future. I also realized that Toastmaster Paramjeet, you weaved in the word of the day. I noticed the grammarian tried several times to remind persons to use the word of the day, and you ensured that in your evaluation, you used the word of the day. That was very skillful. I liked the fact that you highlighted areas for improvement. I did notice when the Toastmaster of the day, she was speaking and we could not see her. So you mentioned that and alerted her to look out for that next time when she performs the role. You also indicated that servant leadership starts long before this meeting because of the length of preparation that has to go into making this meeting what it is today. Thank you so much, Paramjeet, for your insightful evaluation. Now we move swiftly over to our first speaker's evaluator, Toastmaster Hannah. Over to you. Please join us on the virtual lectern to give us feedback on our first speaker.
Thank you very much, Madam General Evaluator, Toastmasters, and Oltesh. Evaluations are essential for enhancing a speech, providing the speaker with constructive feedback that helps turn it into a great presentation for the speaker to rise to the next level. Oltesh, I observed how passionately and energetically you inspired me and the audience with your personal story, the servant leader. Yet, what is my takeaway from your speech? You started with a common scenario being fired by a manager because of an unintentional mistake. Then, next time, keeping your job because of a servant leader who used dialogue to address the error, clearly explaining to me the difference between a manager and a servant leader. You used to try to strengthen your story, being a servant leader in the corporate world, within the family and the community. You gave your boss a name, Yvette. That made your story with her a bit more personal and engaging. You helped me realize that a servant leader demonstrates empathy, listens actively, and cares deeply about their work. And then in the family context, they all believe in the sacrifice they give to bring up their children, especially in today's circumstances. We need servant leaders. And lastly, in the community world, here you only started mentioning leadership speak when the light was green already, leaving a little bit time to explain your role and the impact of joining this amazing club, Leadership Speak. Explaining the difference in paying $20,000 compared to the $60 you pay to receive the values of a servant leader, especially in Leadership Speak. Thanks for giving credit to a few members of Leadership Speak who have assisted you in reaching your goal, being a servant leader. Finally, you nailed it, as the Toastmaster said, with a message from one of our dedicated members' achievement, referring to Buhari, who earned his DTM by demonstrating servant leadership speak at Leadership Speak. Oltesh, servant leaders lead by serving, eating last, as the Toastmaster mentioned, inspiring others to excel, to take on leadership roles. Thank you for your excellent speech. We skillfully used the pitch, the pauses, volume, and conveyed inspiration and motivation. You inspired me and I think the 50 other attendees to embrace servant leadership. Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you, Toastmaster Anna, for that feedback to our leadership speaker. There were so many things that were said, and you summarized it very well, highlighting how the speaker showed the difference between a manager versus a servant leader, and you recapped some of the things that he had shared in his story. I liked how when you couldn't remember the name of the DTM that he referenced, you compose yourself and you pause and recollect. I love that way, how you managed just that moment and make sure you made your point clearly. Excellent, Toastmaster Anna. Now we will hear from Toastmaster Robin as he gives us feedback on the first speaker. Toastmaster Robin, please join me on the virtual lectern.
Thank you very much, Madam General Evaluator, and especially to Arouna, who gave us the speech on negotiation, the second best scenario. And I think really what I liked about this particular speech was how genuine it was and how it was actually a great example of exercising stewardship, dealing with managing scarce resources and still trying to get the best possible outcomes. And isn't that what stewardship is really all about? So not just going for a win-win, but actually being prepared in the negotiation to understand that sometimes you're going to get during the negotiation process an outcome that you didn't actually expect, but that is still desirable and still one that is useful. I think that was great. The great takeaways. Let the other make money as well, not just ensure that they lose. Negotiation actually can lead to surprises. Now, with respect to what you wanted to do, focusing on structure and vocal variety, the way that it was presented didn't really lend itself much to vocal variety. So how can we change that? And I think, judging from my own experience of negotiations, they can actually be quite dramatic. And so one could set this up as rather more than just a report back on a successful negotiation process, actually set it up as a drama. Show what was really at stake. We can understand that. And then that gives the opportunity for expression. What would have happened if this had not worked out? Or if one had ended up with a very kind of lopsided outcome? That could have been an interesting exercise to understand and to give expression and turn this more into a speech rather than a report back. Otherwise, thank you. I think you've really given us a great lesson, some important lessons here, and we definitely look forward to your next speech. Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you for that, Robin. I liked how you recap the objectives of the speech in order to demonstrate to the speaker where he can improve. You made that bold statement that the type of presentation doesn't lend itself very well to the objective of vocal variety. That was very effective in bringing across your point. And this reminds us as speech evaluators that a recap of what the speaker is supposed to achieve from the presentation is very important to making effective recommendations for growth and development. Well done, Tony, and well done, Robin, rather. Thank you for that. And just to share with you what Robin thought about today's theme, he says, in a world of arrogant and domineering leaders, servant leaders stands as a beacon of light. And Robin, you did that today as you assisted today's speaker. Next, we will hear from Toastmaster Joyce and hear what Toastmaster Joyce shared on the theme today. She said that servant leadership has always been very key in her leadership style, leading by example and doing it herself, not being bossy, but to integrate with people. Thank you for that. Toastmaster Joyce, please join us as you share and give feedback to the speaker today.
Thank you, Madam GE, and good evening once again, Toastmasters and guests. Today, I have the privilege of evaluating Lydiah Wanjiku. And congratulations again on your third pathway. That's quite a milestone. You are able to introduce yourself to the club, which you did very well by telling us how you grew up. You also affirmed it by having a virtual background to affirm what you are speaking about, the tea farm. You also went ahead and helped us and explained to us how you helped your mom as you grew up after school, and also emphasize it by having a prop of a tea pack to give us an idea how the tea bags are packed. So what did I feel that you excelled at? You had good tone variation. Your speech was not monotone. You had your highs and lows, telling us how you, when you are having a chit chat, when the ladies were picking up the teas, that was very, very good. You also had a good flow of your speech. It had an introduction, it had a body and conclusion. This was depicted when you were telling us how you were born, where you were born, and also when you were, where you went to school, and when you grew up, what you became, and also how you helped in the tea farm. You also had a good stage presence. We were able to see you from bottom up using your body language and use of hands when you're giving us your points. That was put across very, very well. So what did I feel like you may want to work on? In your screen, you were facing one particular direction. So it's like your gadget was placed in a certain way. So we could not really have your eye contact. I would recommend next time you may put your gadget at the middle. This being a Zoom meeting, that is the only way we can connect with you. So I would suggest next time your Zoom presence to be very evident and having your eye contact. Also, you had a very rushed conclusion. I think maybe it's because you saw the timer maybe changing the color from green to amber. So I was waiting to see from your title, More Than Tea, what the benefits of tea would be. Say, for example, like here in Kenya, some people use tea as a means of livelihood, maybe to sell and pay school fees, or rather maybe have to use tea in other ways. So those are some of the suggestions I was waiting to hear. But all in all, you had an excellent body language, you had an excellent tone variation, and also incorporating the eye contact and having a conclusive way to end your speech. You should give exceptional speeches in future. Back to you, Madam J.A.
Thank you, Toastmaster Joyce. You highlighted several of the notes that I had made during Lydiah's speech. That shows you were listening, you were actively listening to be able to make some of the comments that you did. I would have liked for you to make a recommendation as to how she could have etched it in our mind about the tea story. Her speech was also about, it's the humor pathway. And yes, it's her icebreaker, not much humor there to interject at this time, but as she develops on that path, how could she have allowed the audience to connect more with just even one moment after? Her prop that she used, instead of using the theme park, probably she could use a mug and speak about how memories are held within a mug of tea as we sit and sip and share our stories. So she could be a little more lighter as a speaker. I would have loved to hear that recommendation, as I had made some notes there on that. I was listening out for that from you. All in all, I liked your tone, how you use the sandwich technique, and you gave her feedback, and you were very encouraging towards the speaker. Thank you for that. Our next evaluator is Toastmaster Renan. Toastmaster Renan, please join us at the virtual lectern as you give feedback to the next speaker.
Thank you, Ms. General Evaluator. fellow Toastmasters and guests, especially Muhammad. Instead of table topic session in the speech project details, Muhammad chose to share a capturing story about crime and investigation, and shared he shared the importance of active listening and relaying information during the investigation, which is very creative. Muhammad, you did well in capturing our attention with a dramatic story about crime and investigation. It was engaging, and you tied it up meaningfully to leadership, empathy, and active listening. To make your speech even clearer, you could work on slowing the pace and guiding us more smoothly through each part of the story, because stronger transitions will help your audience easily connect the incident to your leadership lesson. And to challenge you further, I suggest incorporating more question and answer moments within your story, or more dialogues on the story. For example, showing how you asked questions during the investigation, or how it listened carefully to different perspectives. This would make the message on active listening more vivid, and let us see how listening and responding can build understanding and resolution. Overall, it was a thought-provoking speech with a meaningful message, with clearer flow, more interactive storytelling, and a touch of stewardship. Through active listening, your delivery can become even more powerful and inspiring. That's all, and back to you, Ms. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Raynon, for taking on this challenge of providing feedback to our speaker. I know it can be challenging as we listen attentively, and most importantly, to make recommendations for improvement, because that's the main objective of providing feedback. How can we help the speaker from being at one level and climbing to a higher level? It's not an easy task to accomplish. So thank you for pointing out ways in which our speaker, Mohammed, could improve on demonstrating active listening. Next, we will hear from Toastmaster Sandra as she gives feedback on our next speaker. Toastmaster Sandra, please join me on camera.
I'm here. There we are.
Awesome. How are you today?
I'm just terrific. Thank you.
Awesome. All right. Go forward with your terrificness and share with us.
Thank you. Well, once again, Tony brought stewardship, doing his preparation even though he's on the road. So congratulations with that. He kept his eyes open too. He asked me to watch out particularly for his pacing and pauses. So Tony, you brought us a wonderful story, which is universal, that we could just move right into. I like that. However, we want to look how we're going to get a hook and improve even on what you do. You started out with my daughter wanted to, and so on. To me, that's a telling. And I like to be able to find the way to put that hook in there. So instead, try opening with, "Hi, Dad. Oh, I'm okay. Yes, I'm okay. Oh, and Sarah's airbag worked too." And then go into your story. You brought great energy to your story, which was nice because usually we have the quiet spoken Tony, but the energy was lovely. Now, I would like to get you to take a look at vocal variety. Yes, you had lots of that, but your body gestures includes your face. Not only did you keep your eyes open, but I would like to see you watch your replay and see that we didn't see a lot of smiles in there. It was kind of always this courtroom face, I would think. But of course, I loved Ashley more. Could have thrown in some nice smiles there because you had a lot of great dialogue. The pauses, you asked about pauses. Generally, they were there, but I think you could really milk the pauses, let it drop when you had something surprising. I need the time to visualize what it is that you've just said. So when you take that drop, you probably have to count to 1, 2, 3, 4. Time for Sandra to have the penny drop and process it before we move forward. She flew off the road. That was one where you had that right in there. But with that look of expression that could be on your face, the horror, and letting that one milk. That's the one where you kind of just flew on into the next part. I wanted to be breathless with you. You had 3 or 4 times where you came to the sighs and it was, once, twice, maybe. It seems to me there were 3 or 4 in there. The red car to the red minivan. I like my red vehicles too. I was laughing along with you. At least it wasn't blood. So energetically delivered story. What I would really like to also have as a call to action at the end, such as when the emotional roller coaster comes and smacks you, breathe, be thankful, and remember it's just a scratch. Back to you, GE.
Awesome. I told you she was a super evaluator. I took as much notes as I could to see what recommendations Sandra is gonna make as Tony's evaluator to take his speech up a notch. It was at a very high level and she just zoomed in as an evaluator and she picked up where he could have done something to really take it a notch up. Excellent evaluation. And at this point, I want to also indicate how this particular speech evaluator was able to highlight how Tony injected humor by laughing at himself. And for those other evaluators, for persons who had pathways about humor, you could have suggested that the speaker laugh at themselves to start the laugh so that the audience can continue the laugh. That's a very good way to recommend improvement in that line of path. Toastmaster Yuseli will join us soon, right after I share with you what she had to say about servant leadership. She says the us comes always before the I for the best outcomes in the community. And the community we speak of today is Leadership Speak. This community has been flourishing all because of servant leadership and the stewardship that is demonstrated behind the scene at our mentorship programs, coaching sessions, and so on. Toastmaster Yuseli, it's your turn. Come on over and share with us.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. Toastmaster Teng, you convinced the seagull woman that I am to think about marriage now. Congratulations for this well-structured presentation. The stories were told with sincerity. The language was clear and simple, and the examples were relevant to the audience. Your struggles with learning the Chinese language and the impact of the impact your wife had on you. I realized that, or the audience realized that she made you wiser and you became less obsessed with learning the Chinese language. You had a strong message for the audience that marriage is acceptance, support, companionship, and a lot of laughter about imperfection. Congratulations for that. As you ask me to observe your presentation beyond the project objectives by looking for how you use humor to convey your message, today I want to tell you that you worked it. Everyone in the room was laughing, including myself. And the message was certainly strong, but presented in a light way. So it was easy for us to follow you and to swallow the pills. You use your hand gestures a lot. However, they would have been more effective if you were a little further away from the camera, because your hand will like this. If you are further away, you would feel more comfortable without putting your hand near your face or near your neck. The other thing is, for humorous speech, there were plenty of time where you could have used more vocal variety, especially during the punchline. Because for jokes in a speech, there is a before the jokes and after the jokes. So you could have used more your vocal variety before, because I have noticed that you have had some strategic pauses after to allow the audience to absorb your joke. That was well done. Overall, congratulations on this joyful and yet serious presentation. Work on your Zoom presence for a better posture next time. And again, great message. Back to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Awesome job, Toastmaster Yusali. And when our evaluators give feedback, they too are offering an impromptu speech. And here in Leadership Speak, that is how we do impromptu speeches, by giving feedback and being that steward in terms of demonstrating active listening. I noticed, Toastmaster Yusali, when you said punchline, in giving Toastmaster Holmes his feedback, I think you could have started your presentation with that punchline, something. That was an opportunity that you could have injected some humor in your feedback. You sounded very professional and I liked that. And you could have added a little humor. There was an opportunity for you to add a little humor in giving your feedback there as you recap, using punchline and just highlighting that something. Sometimes when you don't know what to say, it's something. But here at Leadership Speak, we move something into something that is clear and easy for others to understand. I will ask Madam Timer to post the timing for our evaluators in the chat. Also, I'm going to ask for the poll to be launched for the best effort evaluator. While the poll is being launched for the best effort evaluator, I just wanted to highlight that all our evaluators except one was within time. And I want to commend our evaluators for that, because in every speech that you give, it is important to ensure you manage time well. So use the information provided in the chat for your own improvement as well, to ensure that you improve on your delivery. Has the poll been launched?
Yeah, yes, Nicole, it's almost finished.
Okay. I want to exercise that as well. And so I'm navigating, speaking to you and giving my input on who I think was the best evaluator. And we will hear that announced when the Toastmaster of the day takes over. Thank you all to our speech evaluators for demonstrating stewardship and ensuring that our speakers have some feedback that will help them to move from good to excellent. Over to you, Madam Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you, Nicole. Can you call the grammarian for her report before you finish, please?
Yes, Madam Grammarian, can you share with us today how we did in terms of use of the word of the day, as well as any point of grammar that is worth highlighting? Thank you for that, Madam Toastmaster of the day, for catching me up right there. Madam Grammarian, over to you.
Thank you very much, our General Evaluator, and good evening once again from Abuja. I'll start with the word of the day, which is stewardship. It was used a total of 6 times, at least 6 times. There was a time when I had to step away from my desk. I'm not sure if somebody used it then. Our General Evaluator and Evaluator Robin leads the charge with 2 times each. They both used stewardship twice. Our Toastmaster of the day used it once, I noted, and then Toastmaster Sandra used it once as well. Today's meeting was rich with well-chosen language, engaging storytelling, and impactful rhetorical devices. And I captured a few of them. These are some of the standout expressions and techniques that I captured. I captured metaphor. Toastmaster Oltesh Thobias said, "I believe you have your own Yvette in your life." In this context, Yvette becomes more than just a name. She becomes a symbolizing of servant leadership. And this metaphor invited the audience to reflect on their own leaders who embody similar qualities. He also used another metaphor when he said one-stop shop. And this illustrated somebody who is versatile, dependable, resourceful. I saw rhetorical questions. For instance, Toastmaster Arouna said, "Do you see negotiation as a confrontation, or do you see it as the beginning, the first step to collaboration?" I saw simile. Toastmaster Tony said, "Your daughter pulled off the road like a rocket." This is a powerful simile that conveyed speed and intensity, and it was made even more striking by the emotional context, given that it was describing an accident. I saw vivid imagery by Toastmaster Tony, who said, "It was big, it was beautiful, it was red, and it was mine." Chunks of metal, glass, and rubber. These expressions use repetition and sensory detail to immerse the audience in the moment. There were several others, but for want of time, I'm going to stop right there, and over to you, our General Evaluator.
Thank you, Madam Grammarian, for that. And I too am learning as the General Evaluator to slow things down a bit and use the pauses, because where I come from, we are the spring factory of the entire world in athletics. So this has been a great learning opportunity for me. And I thank you, Leadership Speak, for allowing me to serve as the General Evaluator today. And over to you, Toastmaster Gilda.
Thank you, General Evaluator, and thank you to all the evaluators, dear guests. You just witnessed how servant leaders give feedback. They give feedback, inspiring the speakers to come back again, deliver speeches, improve on their speeches. Before I end the meeting, I would like to call the person who will deliver the thought of the day. And the thought of the day is delivered by none other than Wahiga Chichenga. Wahiga Chichenga, delivering the thought of the meeting today. Zoom Master, can you spot Wahiga? Thank you.
Servant leadership speaks to leaders who are committed to a cause above self. Leaders who not only are committed to a cause, but have the discipline, have the integrity without curse. As a result, they are not caught up in the trappings of power, of fame, of possession, but instead use their power, use their resources to put their teams up for success. There have been great conversations today about servant leadership. And at the heart of servant leadership is the team, empowering them, uplifting them so that they can operate in excellence. A person who comes to mind when I think about servant leadership is one, Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela fought for a cause to end apartheid, to bring equality to people in South Africa. A cause that put his family on the rocks and took away his youth. But that didn't derail him because the call for the nation superseded his safety and his preservation. Today, the call of servant leadership is not as dire as those that have gone before us. The ask, like we have been taught today, is just to empower, to uplift, and inspire people who are under our wings to go for gold in their cause. And certain characteristics to enable us to be good servant leaders are stewardship, accountability, great listening, and fostering trust with our team members. And I like it the way the Toastmaster of the day said that at Leadership Speak, servant leadership is not an add-on, it's what drives us. Back to you, Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you, Wahiga, for the thought of the day. And now it's my pleasure to turn the stage or the podium to one of our servant leaders, and that is none other than our president, Holmes Teng. The stage is yours.
Thank you so much, our Toastmasters of the day, Gilda. I'd like to take a few moments to interact with some of our guests as well as newer members. I'll start off with guests that have signed on the guest book and are still around. Arouna Mugan, are you available to speak?
Yes.
Hello,
Good morning.
Arouna. How do you find the meeting
Hi.
today?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
The meeting was nice. This is the first time that I've been to your meeting. I mean, no, it's the second time actually I've been to the meeting, and it's a great one. I've been learning a lot throughout the meeting, and I intend to come back again. In fact, I'm from District 129 from Mauritius, and I'm the area director of F03. Hello.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Arouna. I also see that you have indicated you are interested in joining the club. What will happen is that one of our EXCO members, our Vice President of Education, immediate past President, Brahmanom, will be reaching out to you for a chat, and then we can follow up from there. Thank you so much. We look
Thank you for
forward to
that.
having you.
Have a good day. Thank you.
Let me see if some of our guests who are still around. Vivian Mengalidan, are you available to speak?
Yes, hello, Holmes, Vivian Mangalinden. Physically, I'm in Asia, and I'm located in Makati, Central Business District, Metro Manila, Philippines. I have invited myself several times over the years. You like that by myself. And you realize that the time, it's 1 minute to glass slipper time, Cinderella time. It's midnight here now. I love this club because there's no joking around. If you're just here, you, you know what I'm saying? If you're just here to say you're a Toastmaster, you realize like, you don't, right? And I like to say that interesting, there are serious people who can and do make a difference in the world in your own individual ways. And I look forward to the day where you can have maybe something on your website that each one of you, here's a good one, Holmes, has your own brand. What's the Holmes brand? What's the Robin brand? What's the Hannah brand? That's my extra challenge during your term, and I will find a way to definitely attend that meeting and invite myself again. Thank you.
Thank you
I'm
so
going
much
to.
for the challenge as well as being here. You're always welcome as a guest. And yes, in Singapore now, it's 12 midnight. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Holmes.
Perhaps one or two more. But Vanessa Walt or Huyen, I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. Vanessa, are you available to speak? Satvinder Singh. If not, I'd like to hear from some of our newer members. Irande, how is your first role as grammarian?
It's nice. A learning curve. Things are done a bit differently here, but it's all good. It's about exploring. That's why I joined the club in the first place. But I particularly love the evaluations. Awesome. Awesome. And the speakers, everything. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you so much, Irande. I do want to acknowledge on Thursday, we had a lengthy discussion just on the word of the day. Thank you for being with us and going through the discussion, and I see you adopted the suggestion. Thank you so much for your service. Helene, are you available to speak?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Is it convenient to have your camera on?
I can't in this moment. I'm really sorry.
No worries.
Yeah. Yeah.
How is this
Thank you.
meeting for you now that you are
Yeah.
listening as a member? Did it change from your perspective as a guest?
Yes, I'm very happy to in this meeting because I remember I have participated some sessions and I really enjoyed, and I think this is the best group in my life until now because I have learned a lot from you and sorry, yeah, from you and each of you, and I have received feedback and support from many of you, and I feel grateful for that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Helene. Definitely, there will be more things that we will collaborate together and we will learn from one another, especially when you take on more meeting roles in the weeks to come. Thank you so much, Helene. With that, I'd like to hand back the time back to the Toastmasters of the day, Gilda, to adjourn the meeting.
Thank you, our president, for welcoming the guest. And I hope all the guests, have put their contact information in our guest book because we would love to contact you. And now let's see our best effort speaker and a best effort evaluators. If they are ready, can we display them? PR Master, Toastmaster Zara, there you go. And the best evaluator Sandra Valks. Let's give her a big round of applause. Congratulations, Sandra. And the best speaker, best effort speaker is going to Tony Bratschitsch. Congratulations, Tony. Let's give Tony a big round of applause for his winning as best effort speaker. And thank you, Zara, for providing this. And thank you all for attending this meeting with a theme that is so close to my heart, servant leadership. And now with the power invested in me, I adjourn the meeting